Welcome everyone. We are live and live. We are live at Apex 1 located in Westfield, New Jersey. This is the GT Multiclass League round 1. This is Michael. Welcome everyone. Welcome all racers, family, everyone else. This is round 1. We are at Interlagos this week, and this is our inaugural multi-class league. So we have GT3 and GT4 cars for the first time ever. We have 10 drivers in each class for points each week. This league will be a 6-week-long series with points awarded each week, and the best driver will be awarded with a exclusive prize from a sponsor, actually, Turn 2 Auto Detailing. So shout out to Turn 2 Auto Detailing. They'll be sponsoring the main prize of this league. So the winner of each league will be getting a $250 platinum package, interior and exterior detailing included, turning your car from old to brand new. So thank you to Turn 2 for sponsoring our league. But getting back to the race, this is the end of our qualifying session. So for those that are new to our league formats, the sessions are 10 minutes of practice, followed by 15 minutes of qualifying, followed by a 45-minute race. So drivers are just concluding their 15-minute qualifying, and we will soon be looking at the results. You see Brian parked up on the side. Looks like his qualifying is over. So we're going to be taking a look down our leaderboards. Who do you guys know is the coaches right here? So reading off our entry list for the league this year. So we have in the GT3 class, we have Chris, who will be racing in the Aston Martin Vantage. Further down, we have David in the Porsche. We have Doug Penville in the Ferrari 296. Hugo Dos Santos will be looking to get another league victory in the Lamborghini. Jaime is unfortunately not here this week due to some travel, so his car is undetermined, as well as John Pajelski. Two of them both qualifying in the GT3 class, but I believe John will be going in the Lamborghini, but it is yet to be seen.
Stream out to people.
Faster down, voice.
A little.
Testing audio test. Alright, sorry, so we're just fixing some microphone issues. Thank you, James. Let me know if in the chat if mic is good now. Okay, going back to the stream. So let's take a look at our qualifying times. Looks like we have David qualifying in first in the Porsche, followed by Matt. Strong performance from Matt in the Lexus. We have Shane third in the Acura. Looks like Hugo will be fourth in the Lambo. Chris fifth in the Aston Martin with a 135 flat. So it looks like 1.2 seconds separates first to fifth, Moving further down the list, we have Doug in 6th, Peter 7th, followed by Victor, Keith, and finally Seamus qualifying P1. Oh no. Oh wait, what is P2? P2. Yeah. So looks like Victor will be qualifying last in GT3, and then we have Keith qualifying first in GT4 in the McLaren, followed by Seamus. Strong qualifying lap from Seamus in the Camaro with a 141.8. So it looks like the best times between GT3 and GT4 will be separated by about 6 seconds. Strong performance from Phil qualifying in 3rd in the Mustang. Phil will be looking for a good result. But other than that, 2.5 minutes. So we do have a 2.5 minute warm up, 2.5 minute break, I should say, until the race starts. So let's move further down the list. If I could pull it up here. Yep, so it looks like we have Phil qualifying 3rd in the GT4, Brian in 4th in the Toyota Supra, followed by Cole in 5th in the BMW. We have TJ, one of the new Apex 1 employees, qualifying just behind Cole in the McLaren, followed by Paul, Sanjay, Sonny, Steven, and finally the broadcaster. So we're going to be taking a look at all cars on the grid. Again, we are at Interlagos for the race, so should be an interesting race. We have a lot of decline, especially on the first few turns, and as Elian pointed out, we do have ballast in all the cars, so the lap times are definitely interesting. See if I could pull them up. Let's see. Oh yeah, so here we have, looks like the Ferrari. Doug was looking strong in his initial times, but Doug had a 135.9, so that put him in 6th in the Ferrari. The Lexus is looking pretty strong. Didn't get hit with too much ballast, so pretty good qualifying from Matt, but we'll see if he could hold on to that. It is a 45-minute race, so there is a lot for all drivers. I also do want to mention that there is 2 times tire wear and 2 times fuel wear. So these drivers are definitely going to experience the tires degrading. I think many, if not most or all of them, will end up pitting for tire changes. And I think the drivers definitely will have to pit for fuel as well. So interesting race. Lights are about to go out. Seamus is just running to his sim. Almost misses the start. I think his keyboard just fell. Oh, and no, Seamus had a spin start. But he's back in. Seamus might have lost a few spots. On board with Matt. Matt's in 2nd. Matt driving the Lexus. Beautiful black and yellow livery. So we're back. We're on board with David now. David's in the Porsche, closely behind Matt. But there you see Shane moving off as Chris passes by in the Aston Martin. Beautiful livery there from Chris. Here we see David closely behind Matt. This is a battle for P1. David looking to take a turn on the outside, not able to make the overtake. Still closely behind. Looks like the two of them getting a bit of a gap from the rest of the pack. Let's move further back down the pack. Here we see Keith in the McLaren GT4 actually contesting Vic, who's in the GT3 class, rocking the Mustang livery. Keith is in P1 looking to get an overtake, and he's able to complete the move on the GT3 car, although Victor's able to hold the inside line and hold his position. He's gonna end up getting a gap on the straightaway, but Keith was actually held up a bit there going down the turns. Brian is closely behind in second place, although he does go off in the grass in the Supra as Phil passes Brian for P2. Apologies, technical difficulties, just trying to figure out the stream. We are back, now back on board with Doug. Doug is in the Ferrari, currently in 6th, about a second behind Hugo. But as of right now, it looks like Matt and David are forming a bit of a pack from the rest of the pack. We have Chris still in 3rd. Chris is in the Aston Martin, but we're going to take a look further down back in the GT4 class. This is the battle between Seamus and Brian. Seamus rocking the beautiful Pizza Hut livery. And sorry, this is actually Seamus and Phil. Seamus is in the Pizza Hut in the Camaro. We have Phil in the Mustang. And Phil's trying to make a move on Brian, who's in the Advan Supra. But Brian's going to hold his position as of now. And that's going to make way for Seamus to make the overtake on... Oh, there we have Brian going off. Seamus makes the overtake on both. We have Phil getting past Brian. That's 2 spots lost for Brian. Where we have Phil in the Mustang and the Ford Performance livery. Seamus looking to get more of a gap. And Keith is looking comfortable in 1st as he crosses turn 1. Meanwhile, Seamus in P2 is just now approaching turn 1. Looks like we have some other gaps between the other drivers. Hugo's getting closer to Shane now. Hugo's in the black and yellow Lamborghini. Shane rocking the Acura NSX. Hugo's about a half second behind as Shane goes wide off into the curbs. Luckily no grass there, so Shane's gonna hold his spot. But Hugo's getting closer and closer as the lap goes by. And I think Hugo's gonna make the overtake any lap soon. So we have Chris still in 3rd. David in 2nd, contesting Matt. Strong performance from Matt so far in the Lexus. We got this. Alright, so we're back. So we had a disqualification, unfortunately. One of the drivers, Sonny, I think had a jump start. I don't know if it was driver forced or maybe an error with the game, but unfortunately he was disqualified. But we're looking at Cole, as I think Cole just fell out of his seat possibly and crashed. We'll be right back. We're on board with Victor. Victor looks like he went off into the grass. Sorry, just had to go away. Cole unfortunately had an issue and crashed out. So looks like we lost 2 GT4s in the race. But Keith is once again passes Victor in a similar area of the track. Keith is lighting up the track in that McLaren GT4. I think showing that he maybe should have been in that GT3 class. But we're on board with Hugo. Hugo makes an overtake on Chris. That's the move for P2. Beautiful move from Hugo. There we see Chris still closely behind, going down the straightaway. Two of them going side by side. There's beautiful racing from both of them in the almost matching neon liveries. But Hugo's gonna hold this spot as of right now. And it looks like Victor is going to remain behind Keith, even down that straight. So, once again, amazing driving from Keith so far. And Victor, there you see Victor sliding. I think Victor may be struggling with some overheated tires, but it's looking like a good race so far from Keith. There you see Keith and Vic going side to side again. Keith had an overtake on Vic, and Vic lost the spot, but I think Vic's going to gain it back. This is a very interesting battle between the two. A clear disadvantage from Keith, but there you see Keith once again making that time on those curves. There you see the size difference between the Ford and the McLaren. Ford almost eats up the McLaren in terms of size. And there you see Vic will make his way back down on the straightaway. We're gonna take a look back at our GT3 class. This is David closely behind Doug. just 3:10 separates the two of them in the battle for P5. There you see David make a move on the inside, completes the move. Doug goes wide. Beautiful move from David as he overtakes for P5. Now 6 seconds separates him and Peter in the battle for P4, but David spins. I think David overcooked his tires. David spun and Doug gains the position right back. And now Shane is going to be looking to capitalize, although still about an 8-second gap between the two of them, but a huge mistake from David. That's definitely going to cost him. Still 30 minutes left in the race. All drivers will have to pit for fuel, and I think after that mistake, David will definitely have to be pitting for tires as well. But we're going to take a look further down the group. We're now in our GT4 class. There you see Phil in, we're going to start, there you see Keith in first. We have Seamus in second in the Pizza Hut Camaro. We have Brian in third in the 77 Advan Supra, followed by Philip in fourth in the Mustang. TJ's in fifth in the McLaren. We have Paul in sixth in the Porsche 718 Club Sport, followed by Steven, and then of course Cole and Sonny both crashed out. But we're gonna move further up where the battles are a bit closer. Matt's still hanging on to first place. Hugo has a 7.8 second gap, but Matt is looking very strong as of now. There you see Shane going off track, having a big spin. That's going to cost him some time. As Brian approaches, Brian's going to get the overtake on the inside. Shane's tires are going to be a bit dirty as well, so I think Philip's going to be approaching. But Shane is actually holding his spot for now. There you see him making up the time on the straightaway as he surprisingly gets his spot right back. We see Matt pitting early. Matt's going to be the first driver in the pits. I don't know what happened to Matt. Just looking through our controls. I think Matt just may be making a normal pit stop for fuel and tires. I don't know if he maybe had a different strategy, but that might have also been why Matt was running so much stronger, so much faster at first. But we're gonna take a look back on board with Chris. Chris is about 2 seconds behind Hugo as Chris tries to overtake Paul. There you see many of our GT3 drivers are already approaching the GT4s, as I think Paul gets distracted from Chris right behind, and Paul's gonna go right off track in the GT4. Another mistake there from one of the drivers. Here you see the bright red livery of Repsol from Shane. Shane is in the Acura, making his way past the GT4, Seamus, and the Camaro. Here you see TJ going off in the beautiful Marlboro McLaren. TJ, I believe, is sitting in 5th right now in the GT4 class. So this is TJ's debut league race. He's a new employee here at Apex One and new to sim racing in general. So big welcoming for TJ as he makes his way into the sim racing community and jumps right into the deep end with a 6-week multi-class league. But so far TJ's holding his weight. You know, he's already passed Steven, he's passed Paul, who is currently sitting in the pits, and he's outlasted Cole as well as Sonny. So good performance from TJ so far, and also a good performance from Seamus, who's currently in 2nd in the GT4 class. But as of right now, I think the driver of the day does have to go to Keith, who is lighting up the field in the GT4 class. Keith once again makes an overtake on Vic in the GT3 car. So Keith is having a super strong performance so far. Just talking to one of the drivers. Another one of our GT4 drivers are down out of the race. Excuse me. Unfortunately, Paul in the Porsche ran out of gas and did not realize. So Paul unfortunately ran out of gas, was not able to make it back into the pits. But I'm gonna go around making sure that all drivers are aware of their fuel levels, just so that they pit if they need to. But we do see Vic making his pit stop, and I will be right back. I'm just gonna make sure all drivers are okay. I think we see Phil going out, completing his pit stop. I'm gonna stay right here before I go to check for gas, because Matt is actually closely behind Doug. This is a battle for 5th. Doug is getting a little bit loose. I think his tires might be overheated. Matt's in the Lexus, who's in 1st for a while, but has fallen down the pack a bit. I think it's from a few mistakes. But here you see Matt closely behind Doug. I think Matt's gonna get his draft down the straightaway. Here you see him going down the start-finish line. Matt closely behind, tailing Doug. He's gonna make his way early down the left, make his way down into turn 1, down the inside, and he completes the move. Beautiful overtake from Matt as he completes the move over Doug for P4. That's turn 1. Here you see Hugo. Hugo is showing his consistency once again, as he has now broken far away from all the drivers with an 8-second gap from Chris, who is in 2nd. Here you see Shane Going back on board with Shane, and the Acura GT3 makes his way past Keith in the naturally slower McLaren GT4 570S. But I will be right back. I just want to make sure all drivers are aware of their fuel levels. This is a 45-minute race, and there are 21, now almost 20 and a half minutes left. So I think many of them should be pitting soon for fuel, as well as possibly tires. So we're now back. We see Shane spinning off in 6th in the Acura. I think Shane might be losing his spot to Victor. There you see Victor going by. Shane moving down. I think that's now P7 in the GT3 class for Shane. Fortunately, one of the other drivers, Doug, unfortunately had a mechanical failure to his car and has dropped out of the race. So it's now 4 drivers out of the race. We have Sonny, Cole, Paul, as well as Doug. But moving further down, looks like Philip is continuing his strong performance in the GT4 class. Philip remains in 3rd place. A pretty decent gap in front as well as behind. Here you see Seamus approaching the last turn. Looks like Brian is about a lap up on the 2 of them. But Shane has another off, and another unfortunate mistake for Shane. He's having a rough race. I think he may be considering pitting soon for tires. Those tires will definitely be overcooked from the spins, but as of right now, he remains out on track. All drivers have kept it fairly clean as of right now. Here we see TJ. This is TJ and Keith. Keith is about to lap TJ in the GT4 class. So once again highlighting the strong performance from Keith as he makes his way soon around TJ as TJ goes wide around the last few turns, misses the apex once again, and there you see Keith making his way by to lap TJ. But still a strong performance from TJ. Still remains in 5th place in the GT4 class. This is his first league race. Looks like Seamus has dropped down his spot. He's now in 4th. We have Brian remaining in 2nd as you see him wiggle a bit and go wide as Matt makes his way by in the Vassar Sullivan Lexus. We see Phil in the Ford Performance Mustang, Phil remaining in 3rd place. Another good performer of the day. And Hugo's trying to make his way over on Matt. He has a 3-second gap between the two of them. 6.5 minutes left in the race. I think most if not all drivers have now got their pit stops out of the way to top off on fuel. But Hugo's gonna make his way past Brian. Here you see him going down the start-finish straight, and that'll slow him down a bit as Matt's gap increases to 4 seconds. I think Matt's gonna be able to hold on to this lead. You see Chris remaining in 3rd in the Aston Martin with a 17-second gap behind. Pretty decent sized gap between all the remaining drivers on the grid. Wouldn't be too surprised though if Hugo's able to close down on that lap time. But we're back on board with Shane. Shane has the spin. Very tough outing so far from Shane as he spins on last turn of the track, goes off into the grass and is now back out. We'll see if he pits for tires. His tires are definitely messed up by now, but I think he's gonna decide to stay out and just finish the race out. Only 5 minutes left. Here you see he does stay out. Victor remains ahead of Shane. Victor currently in 6th place in the John Player Special Ford Mustang, with Peter in front in the Lamborghini Huracan. There you see another spin from Shane. So all drivers do have a drop week, so for those that had some technical and mechanical difficulties, as well as some of the other drivers that are still trying to learn their car and maybe the new mechanics of the game, all of them do have, you know, the chance to drop the worst result of the season. So none of them are out of this league. All of them are still very much in it. This is, for many of them, you know, a learning curve for the cars. And you know, some of them are clearly thriving with their cars. As you see, Matt holds his position, as well as Keith, far ahead in the Sharpie McLaren. What is this?
On board with Peter here, in the beautiful plaid Lamborghini. As we switch back to Shane. Shane looking to make a move over Keith in the GT4. Should be a natural overtake for Shane, but Keith is very fast, especially in this sector. So I think Keith is going to hold on until we get into the straightaway. For now, Matt looks to have dropped down back into third. You see Hugo out in front. So it looks like Matt made his pit stop and lost those 2 spots. So a minute left in the race. Hugo's going to look to get his first win of the season. Chris is in second, but Matt is closely behind in third. So we're going to see if Matt can get that overtake. These are big points on the board. Both these drivers looking to get a strong first performance of the season. There you see again the beautiful Vassar Sullivan livery from Matt. We're on board with TJ now. TJ holds on to his fifth place position in his first ever league race. So good result from TJ. This is definitely the longest he's ever raced on the sim. So I think TJ has shown his endurance as well as his strategy for fuel and tires. Although you do see him slip a little bit and go wide. So still a lap or 2 left for all drivers to complete. I think this will be the hardest lap of them all, though, because most of their tires, I'm sure, are shot. I was personally in the GT1 league on Monday, so for those of you who don't know, we're also doing a classic GT league on Mondays. So for that league, many of us had extreme tire wear, since for both leagues it's on 2 times. But those cars being slightly older cars, older tires, the tires were pretty much shot in the last 2 laps, and it was most definitely a different race in the last 2 laps. And speaking of last 2 laps, the leader has 2 laps to go. So Matt is going to look to make his last move for P2, but there's going to be, I think, our final battle of the race. Keith has looked to secure P1 for the GT4 class. Hugo has most definitely secured first for the GT3 class. But Matt's actually going to go to pit again. I think Matt has pitted like at least 3-4 times now. He might have miscalculated his fuel once again. So that's a big mistake from Matt. And I think David's going to be passing him down the straightaway. There you see Matt going past the pit lane, has to reverse. So Matt actually lost his second place in the GT Classic, the Classic GT League, from fuel. And Matt does the same thing. He has to pit and loses P3. So there you see David getting the overtake just as Matt gets out on the straightaway, but about a 1 second gap between the 2 of them. So this is going to be a fight till the end. And I'm sure Matt's going to be on less fuel, although his tires may be colder. But Matt actually storms past, makes his way through the draft, attempts an overtake on the outside over David. David's going to play it a bit safe, although he holds on through the inside. Beautiful racing from the 2 of them, keeping it clean. Matt continues to stay in 4th. This is going to be a race till the end. This is the last lap. Here you see the 2 of them going through the last few turns. We're on board on the helicopter now. Hugo crosses the line for first. Here we have it, last turn. We'll see if Vic holds him up and bit, but I don't think he will. And I think that'll be the end of the race. Although Chris spins Uh-oh. Chris. Oh no, Chris finished the race. Yo, Chris finishes in second. Here you see David out, Matt out. And that is the end of the race. So you see Matt crossing the line. Vic, Keith secures the win in the GT4 class. In the McLaren, looks like we have Brian in second, Seamus in third. In the GT4 class, looks like we have Hugo getting the win, Chris getting second, with David in third. So congratulations to all the drivers on the podium. Thank you all for tuning into the broadcast. Sorry for being out of it for a long bit of the broadcast. Had some issues with many of the drivers, and some drivers had some issues that they forced on themselves, but definitely a lot to learn from all ends. We do have 5 weeks left in the league. This was a great first week. Not the best broadcast due to all the issues that we had, but some great racing. Hope to see you guys all next week. We'll see you guys all on the same channel. Apex 1 New Jersey will be live same day, same time. So thank you guys all for tuning in, and thank you to the drivers for racing.